The grand market of Daraxis Prime was loud, full of strange smells, bright lights, and powerful alien nobles. It was the kind of place where the rich came to show off their wealth, and the poor came just to watch. Jay stood at the back of the auction hall, dressed in plain clothes, holding a small datapad in his hand. He wasn't here to buy anything. He was just a human engineer, unknown, quiet, and alone. The stage flashed with energy as a tall alien walked forward. It was Baron Zulgar, a feared and arrogant noble of the Zenthari Empire. He smiled with sharp teeth and waved his hand toward a floating capsule behind him. Inside was a girl, maybe 18 years old, with pale purple skin and long white hair. She sat motionless in a high-tech chair, her legs strapped down, her eyes half closed. "Behold," Baron Zulgar said, his voice booming, "my broken daughter Jera." Laughter echoed in the hall, cruel and mocking. "She cannot walk, she cannot talk. She is a burden even I cannot bear." The crowd roared with more laughter. "Who will take her? Who dares take this useless child?" He shouted with sarcasm. Nobody moved, nobody wanted her. Then Baron Zulgar's glowing eyes locked on Jace. "You human," the Baron said, pointing. Jace blinked in surprise and looked behind him, but there was no one else. "Yes, you. You look like a man with a kind heart," the Baron sneered. "Take her, for free, as my gift to you." The hall went silent, then burst into more laughter. A noble giving his own daughter away as a joke? To a human? Unthinkable. Jace could have said no. He could have walked away, but his eyes met Jera's just for a second. Her eyes were not empty. They were tired, but awake, alive, scared. Without a word, Jace stepped forward. The laughter slowed, then stopped. He looked up at the Baron and said, "I accept." Gasps filled the hall. Baron Zulgar laughed louder than before, clapping his hands. "Very well. The human wants the trash. Let him take her." The capsule was lowered onto a hover pad, and two guards pushed it toward Jace. He looked at the chair she sat in. It was built to hold someone paralyzed. Her arms were thin, her fingers barely moved, but her eyes watched everything. Jace gently placed his hand on the side of the chair. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. "I'm taking you somewhere safe." Jera didn't respond, but a single tear rolled down her cheek. Back on Jace's small ship, the Silver Path, the crew stared in confusion. "Boss, what is this?" asked Miko, his android assistant. "She's paralyzed," said Ralm, the ship's pilot, a furry alien with 3 eyes. "Did you really take her from Baron Zulgar? Are you crazy?" "Maybe," Jace said, pushing the hover chair into the medbay. "But look at her eyes. She's still in there." He began scanning her with medical tools, looking at her neural activity. Her brain was fully active, firing signals, just not reaching her body. Something was blocking her nervous system. Not damage, not disease, something else. What the hell? Jace muttered. "This isn't paralysis from injury," he said aloud. "She's been shut down." Michael looked closer at the scans. "Implant detected at spinal base," it said. "Locked interface code unknown." Jace frowned. "Somebody did this on purpose." Jera blinked once. Slowly, her lips moved a little as if trying to speak. Jace held her hand gently and whispered, "Don't worry, I'll figure this out." He turned to Miko. "Prepare the lab. We're going to dig into this implant." As he wheeled her into the private room, he noticed something else. Jera was gripping his finger, weakly but clearly. A broken girl wouldn't do that. A conscious girl would. And in that moment, Jace made a silent promise. He wasn't going to let her be someone's joke. He was going to set her free, even if it cost him everything. Asterisk, asterisk. The lights inside the ship's lab were dim, soft blue, humming with quiet energy. Jace sat at his workstation, eyes locked on the data streaming from the scanner. Jera lay on the medical table behind him, her breathing soft but steady. Miko stood beside him, projecting data in the air. And the more they studied her body, the more confused Jace became. This isn't a normal implant. He whispered. It's not for healing, not for support. Miko tilted its synthetic head. It is a control device, the android said. Most likely military grade. Jace turned in his seat and looked at Jera. Her head was still, her eyes half closed but again. Watching, she had not made a sound since they left the market. But Jace could feel her presence, like a quiet voice inside a locked room, screaming. Without sound, who puts a military lock in a child's spine? Jace asked softly. Jera blinked. Once, Jace leaned forward. Do you know who did this to you? Jera blinked again once. Yes. Was it your father? A long pause, then a single blink. Yes, again. Jace clenched his jaw. He felt a fire grow in his chest, anger, deep and cold. The Baron didn't just mock her, he imprisoned her. But why? Let's try a neural link, he said to Miko. We won't send commands, just read. He gently attached a thin neural band to her temple. The screen lit up with her brain activity strong, active, sharp. This girl wasn't slow or broken. She was brilliant, just caged. I can't believe they called her worthless. Jace muttered. Miko's eyes glowed slightly. They saw what they wanted to see, it said. But you looked deeper. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The screens blinked red for a moment. Unauthorized access detected. Flashed across the console. What? Jace stood quickly. Miko moved to the firewall system. We're being scanned, it said. Remote signal strong. Jace looked at Jera, who was now blinking, fast panic in her eyes. They know, he whispered. The Baron, he's watching her, or at least watching the implant. He rushed to the main panel and severed the data link. The room went silent again. The red lights vanished. Jera's eyes closed briefly, as if in relief. But Jace wasn't calm. Her body isn't just disabled, he said slowly. It's monitored, tracked, maybe even punishable if she moves. Miko stared at the console. The implant's encryption is unlike anything we've seen. It said, 10-layered code, adaptive response. Threat detection. This is meant to trap a weapon, not a person. Jace's thoughts raced. Jera wasn't just a noble's daughter, she was something more. He returned to her side and took her hand again. I don't know how long it'll take, he whispered, but I'm going to break this thing. I promise. She blinked once. Slowly, her fingers twitched, slightly stronger than before. It wasn't much, but it was hope that night. As the ship drifted in orbit above a small moon, Jace worked non-stop. He tore apart old encryption models, rewrote diagnostic tools, tested fake implants on dummies. Every hour brought him closer, but also brought more danger, more scans, more alerts, more attempts to breach the firewall. Whoever was watching Jera wanted her to stay silent forever, but Jace wasn't giving up. He didn't care if she was royalty, weapon, or both. He only saw a girl robbed of her freedom. And when he finally cracked one layer of the implant's code, the room shook. A warning sounded through the ship. Intrusion detected, auto defense activated. Jace! Miko shouted, we have incoming. 3 small drones approaching fast. Jace ran to the bridge, heart pounding. Shields up! He yelled. The ship vibrated as the drones began firing small blasts meant to disable, not kill. They didn't want him dead. They wanted Jera untouched, still locked. But Jace wasn't afraid anymore. He fought back, dodging through the stars, firing ion pulses until all 3 drones exploded into sparks. Back in the lab, Jera was shaking, her eyes wide. Jace knelt beside her. I told you, he said softly. I won't let them keep you. Like this. Her hand reached up, barely, and touched his arm, not perfectly. Not with strength, but with meaning. That touch said everything, and deep inside her mind, something changed. A wall cracked. A signal flickered, and the implant hesitated. For the first time in years, Jera felt something new, the beginning of control. The ship floated in silence above the moonlight surface of Terex 5. Stars blinked across the window like distant sparks. But inside the silver path, there was no peace. Jace stood alone in the dark hallway, holding a burnt circuit in his hand. The implant code was fighting back harder than ever. 3 attacks in one night. He muttered to himself, someone wants her to stay locked. No matter the cost, behind him, Jera rested in the medbay. Her skin pale, her breathing uneven. She hadn't spoken, but her body was changing. Slight movements in her fingers, flickers in her toes. Jace had seen them, felt the small victories, but now there was something worse. He entered the lab again, where Maiko was scanning a new transmission. This isn't just a scan, the android said. It's a tracking beacon. Jace's eyes narrowed. They found us. The console blinked red, and a chilling message appeared on screen. Return the unit or face deactivation. Unit. That's what they called her. Not daughter, not person, just a thing. Jace slammed his fist on the console. She's not a unit. He shouted, she's alive. And they're afraid of that. He turned to Maiko. Scramble the jump coordinates, go dark, make us invisible. Maiko hesitated. If we run, they'll send more, it said. If we fight, they'll come harder. Jace looked back at the medbay door. Jera was trying to move, trying to live. He wouldn't let them shut her down again. Let them come, he said quietly. I'm not afraid. Later that night, Jera opened her eyes fully. The ceiling was unfamiliar, glowing gently with soft light. She turned her head just a little, but it moved. Her body trembled, but her mind was clear. And then she heard footsteps. Soft ones, coming from outside. Not Jace, not Miko, someone else. She blinked twice, warning. The implant sensors lit up, but instead of freezing her like before, it glitched. The control system wasn't working right anymore. And in that broken moment, Jera reached out and touched the emergency panel on her bed. The alarm sounded across the ship. Jace leapt from his seat on the bridge. Unauthorized presence. Miko said, inside the medbay. Jace ran, grabbing his old plasma tool on the way. He reached the door, already forced open, and saw a figure standing beside Jera's bed, dressed in dark armor. A silent hunter, aiming a small dart at her neck. Step away from her. Jace shouted. The intruder turned, face hidden behind a black helmet. No words, just action. He fired. Jace ducked, the dart missing him by inches. He lunged and tackled the assassin to the ground, the weapon sliding away, but the stranger was strong. Trained, he threw Jace off and stood fast. Before he could grab the weapon again, a blast of electricity hit his back. Jera, her hands still shaking, had reached the emergency zapper under her bed. It wasn't much, but enough. The assassin dropped, stunned. Miko arrived seconds later and locked down the room. Jace sat on the floor, breathing hard. He looked at Jera, and this time she smiled. Just a little. You saved me, he whispered. She blinked twice, then once. Yes, after the intruder was locked in the brig. Jace returned to Jera's side. He gently placed her hand in his. Do you want to tell me something? He asked. Her lips moved again, slow, broken, but there was sound. Thur, she whispered. Jace leaned in. Did he send that man? She blinked once. Why? Why is he so afraid of you? Jera's eyes filled with tears. Woo. Weapon. That one word broke Jace's heart. He understood now. She wasn't just paralyzed. She was made to be powerful. Dangerous, maybe too dangerous. Her father didn't want a daughter. He wanted control. When she became more than he could command, he locked her body and threw away the key. But Jace was the key now, and the lock was breaking. He looked at her and said softly, You are not a weapon. You are Jera. She blinked once. Then again, a tear rolled down her cheek. And Jace knew. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. The next move would come soon. And this time, they wouldn't wait in the shadows. Jace sat beside Jera in the medbay, his hand still resting on hers. The ship was quiet after the attack, too quiet. Outside, stars drifted silently across the windows. Inside, his mind was full of questions. The intruder was now locked in a cell, refusing to speak. Miko continued scanning the ship for more threats. But Jace wasn't thinking about enemies right now. He was thinking about Jera's voice. Not the implant, not the tech, her voice. That one broken word. Father. She had spoken it with pain, but also with courage. She had taken the first step, and now Jace wanted her to take another. He adjusted the neural assist device, lowering its stress level. Okay, Jera, he said gently. I'm going to ask you something. If it's too much, just blink once. She blinked. Ready. Do you remember who you were before this? She blinked once. Slowly, he took a breath. Were you trained? Used? Another blink. Yes. Jace leaned closer. Why? He asked, his voice soft. What were you made to do? Jera's lips trembled. Her throat moved. It hurt, but she tried. Her voice cracked like dry leaves. Mind. Link. Jace froze. What? He asked carefully. Say it again. Mind. Link. She whispered again, stronger. Her voice was rough, unused, but real. Jace looked at Miko, who had just entered the room. She said, Mind Link. He repeated. Miko's eyes blinked blue. That's a rare neural ability, it said. Only 1 in 10 million can form stable psychic tech bonds. Jera, Jace said slowly. Can you connect with machines? Her eyes moved, full of memory. She blinked once, then slowly raised her hand. Her fingers still shook, but she pointed at the ship's terminal beside her bed. Jace hesitated. He activated the panel, watched the screen. Come to life. Jera placed her fingers against the interface. No plug, no wire, no keyboard, just her hand. And the screen changed. It showed stars, charts, blueprints, images Jace hadn't uploaded. They came from her. She was inside the system. Her thoughts flowing through code like water. Miko gasped. She's rewriting navigation paths from memory, without access codes. Jace stepped back, stunned. You're not broken, he whispered. You're brilliant, Jera smiled. Barely, but it was there. And for the first time since he met her, Jace saw her as she truly was. Not a gift, not a joke. A girl full of power, locked away by fear. And now unlocking herself. Hours passed, and Jera's energy faded. Jace let her rest while he worked with Miko to decode the rest of the implant. Every layer told a deeper story. The device wasn't just controlling her body, it was monitoring her thoughts. It had shut her down not because she was sick, but because she had resisted. Long ago, she had refused to obey a direct command. So the system locked her in silence. She's not a weapon, Jace said firmly. She's someone her father couldn't control. Suddenly, an alarm buzzed. Jace jumped from his chair. Signal detected. Another incoming message, but this time, not from the Baron. It was coming from Jera herself. What is this? He asked, eyes scanning the screen. She's transmitting? No, Miko said, looking closely. She's reaching out. Someone is answering her. A voice came through, not human, not digital, something in between. It echoed softly in the ship like a whisper in metal. Jera? Is it really you? Jace stared at the console. Who is that? Jera's eyes opened wide. She tried to speak, this time louder, clearer. Sister, she said. Miko's sensors buzzed. Another signal incoming. Hidden deep in the system. This ship that's carrying a second link. Jace's heart raced. There was more to this than he thought. Jera wasn't just important, she was connected to something larger. Maybe a group, maybe a hidden network of others like her, maybe even others who had been silenced too. He turned to her and said gently, Do you want to find her? Jera blinked once, then twice, and then, Yes, she said, loud enough for the room to hear, her first real word. Her real choice, not a command, not a whisper, but her voice. And that changed everything. The old storage room on Deck 3 had not been used in years. Dust floated in the air. Lights flickered above, and silence wrapped the space like a blanket. But now, it had a new purpose. Jace stood beside a strange device, one he built just for Jera. It wasn't medical, and it wasn't military. It was a memory projector. Something that could connect her thoughts directly to light and sound. Something that could show what she could not yet say. Jera sat in her chair, wires gently touching her skin. She was stronger, now her fingers moved with more control. Her voice was still soft, but she could form short sentences. And she had only one request. I want you to see what he did. Jace nodded. Okay, he said. We're ready when you are. She closed her eyes and focused. The lights dimmed, the machine hummed, and then the room changed. A soft glow formed in the center. And then images, clear and sharp, floated in the air. A young Jera, maybe 10 years old, stood in a wide chamber. Her body was healthy, strong, glowing with power. Around her, alien soldiers stood watching, and beside them, her father, Baron Zolgar. Begin the test, he ordered. The child Jera raised her hand, and a giant machine in front of her powered on. No controls, no wires, just her mind. The machine moved like a living creature. Obeying her thoughts, guns rotated, shields activated. Systems shifted, all under her will. The soldiers clapped, impressed, but the Baron didn't smile. Instead, he looked nervous. Again, he said coldly. Jera hesitated. I'm tired, she said. I don't want to. Her voice echoed in the memory room, clear and young, but that simple act of refusal changed everything. The next scene showed her locked in a dark room. Machines around her, doctors poking, scanning. You disobeyed, her father said. You will learn. Next came surgery. Cold metal arms, flashing lights, wires entering her spine. Her screams were silent, but the memory made Jace clench his fists. They punished her for having a will, he whispered. The final image showed her lying still on a table, eyes open but frozen, her body no longer her own. And the Baron's voice echoed one last time. She will not be a danger now. The lights faded. Jera opened her eyes again, tears slipping down her cheeks. Jace knelt beside her and took her hand. You were never the danger, he said. He was. Miko stood in the corner, its eyes glowing dim blue. That was not training, it said quietly. That was fear. Jace turned back to the machine and saved the memory file. We're going to show the galaxy what he did, he said. They all laughed when he gave you away, but now they'll see who he really is. Jera looked at him, her lips trembling. I want to speak, she said slowly. Not just to you. To all, Jace nodded. We'll send the memory to the tribunal, and when the time comes, you'll speak with your voice. Suddenly, a new signal appeared on the ship's console. Not a threat, this time, a message. We saw your broadcast, it read. Others like her are watching, waiting. Jace's eyes widened. Others? Jera blinked slowly. Children, hidden, locked away, she whispered. Like me. It wasn't just one victim. There were more. All silenced, all kept away, all too powerful to be allowed to grow. Jace stood tall. We're not running anymore, he said. It's time to fight. Back, Jera looked up. Her hands closed into fists for the first time. And for the first time in years, she felt whole. Not because someone gave her strength, but because someone believed in it. Her past had been pain, but her future was hers to choose now. Asterisk. The ship's engines hummed low as the silver path drifted toward neutral space. Jace stood at the command console, eyes locked on the star map. They were headed toward the Galactic Tribunal, a place where the truth could be shown, where lies, cruelty, and power could finally be judged. But Baron Zolgar wasn't going to let them reach it, not without a fight. Jera sat in her chair, now fitted with neural connectors and soft exosupports for her legs. Her muscles still trembled when she tried to stand, but she was getting stronger every day, and inside her mind, her strength had never been clearer. She no longer felt like a prisoner. She felt like something rising suddenly. Red alarms flared across the ship. Miko's voice echoed through the hallway. Enemy ship detected, stealth class, fast approach. Jace sprinted to the bridge. How far? 10,000 units, Miko replied. Weapons charged, no response to hails. Jera entered the bridge slowly, using her braces to walk step by step. She wasn't fast, but every step she took was her own. And when Jace turned and saw her, he stopped. "You're standing," he whispered. She gave a small smile. "I'm not done rising," she said quietly. Jace helped her to the co-pilot's chair, then helped me fly. The enemy ship opened fire-bright green beams flashing past them. Jace dodged. Left, counter thrusters roaring. The silver path shook, shields holding barely. "They're aiming for our nav core," Miko shouted. "If they hit it, we lose the jump capability." Jera reached forward, fingers trembling as she touched the neural link. She closed her eyes and dove into the ship's systems. Inside the network, she saw everything. The engines, the shields, the weapons all connected like a glowing web. She didn't need her body here. Here, she was light. Thought. Power. She moved the shield angle, redirected power to weapons, and then she did something unexpected. She hacked the enemy ship, just for a second, but enough to delay their next shot. Jace looked at the screen, shocked. Did you just control them?" Jera opened her eyes, breathing heavy. "I saw their code," she said. "It's not perfect." Another hit rocked the ship. But this time, Jace was ready. He fired back ion cannons blasted across space. One shot hit the enemy's wing, sending them spinning. They pulled away damaged, retreating, but not defeated. This was only the beginning. Later, as silence returned, Jace walked with Jera down the ship corridor. She still used braces, but she walked without help now. They entered the briefing room, where a hologram of the Galactic Tribunal hovered in front of them. A countdown had begun. 6 hours until they arrived. 6 hours until the memory file would be shown to every noble in the galaxy. Jera touched the table and spoke. "I want to say it myself." Jace looked at her. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I've been silent long enough." Jace gave a small smile. "You're not the girl I met at that auction," he said. "You're something more now." Jera's eyes sparkled softly. "I was never less," she replied. "They just made me believe I was." Back in her room, Jera stared at the stars through the small window. She opened a hidden file inside her mind one she hadn't shown even Jace. It was a memory not of pain, but of something older, her mother's voice, warm, kind. "Forgotten for so long, Jera," the memory whispered. "Your mind is not a weapon, my love. It's a gift if used with kindness. It will light the dark." A tear rolled down her cheek. She wasn't going to the tribunal just to get justice. She was going for all the children who were still locked away, still treated like tools, still silenced. She stood on her own, breathing deep. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about change. An hour before arrival, Miko entered her room. "Transmission incoming," it said. "From Baron Zolgar." Jera stared at the screen, then sat calmly. "Show me." The Baron appeared, seated in his golden throne. "Jera," he said, voice smooth and false. "You don't have to do this. You locked me away." She replied without fear. "You broke me. I protected you," he said quickly. "You were dangerous. Do you think the Council will forgive what you could become?" "I don't want forgiveness," she said. "I want freedom. You're still my daughter." The Baron said coldly. "No," she replied, standing tall. "I'm finally becoming myself." She ended the call and turned to Jace, who had just entered. "It's time," she said. "Let them see who I really am." And for the first time in her life she didn't feel afraid. She felt ready. The Galactic Tribunal was a floating fortress above a dying star, a place where the most powerful voices in the galaxy gathered to decide fates, settle wars, and rewrite the rules that billions followed. And now for the first time in its long, cold history, a silenced girl was about to speak. The chamber was massive, built like an ancient temple. Alien nobles in rich robes filled the seats. Baron Zolgar stood proudly at the center. Surrounded by his guards, he smiled as if he already knew he would win. He always did. Then the doors opened, and Jera walked in. She did not arrive in a hover chair. She walked on her own slowly, carefully. Her legs braced with metal, but every step echoed like thunder. Beside her stood Jace, silent but proud. Behind her, Miko recorded everything. Entire galaxy was watching. A whisper passed through the crowd. That's her. Is she really the broken one? No, she's walking. The lead judge, a six-eyed being of crystal and light, raised its hand. You may speak. Jera of House Zulgar. She stepped forward and activated the memory core. The room darkened, and her story began. The images flickered into the air. Her. As a child, powering machines with her mind, her refusal to obey, her punishment, the surgeries, the silence, her father's cold words. She will not be a danger now. The chamber went completely quiet. No one laughed, no one moved when the lights returned. Jera stood straight. I was never weak, she said clearly. I was never broken. She looked straight at her father. You were, Baron Zulgar. Stepped forward, rage flashing in his eyes. She's unstable. He shouted, she's dangerous. She was born with illegal power. I did what was necessary. Jace spoke for the first time. You didn't protect the galaxy, he said. You protected your own pride. Jera turned to the judges. There are others, she said. Children. Like me, hidden, locked, called dangerous for thinking differently. I don't want revenge, she added. I want freedom. Not just for me, but for them too. The room remained still then. Slowly one of the judges stood, then another, and each one raised their hand. In support, the verdict was clear. Jera was not guilty. Baron Zulgar was stripped of his title, wealth, and protection. He was taken away in silence. No more laughter, no more power. After the trial, Jera stood outside the tribunal with Jace and Miko. Ships hovered in the sky. Reporters called her name, but she didn't care. About the fame, she looked at the stars. I feel light, she said softly. You earned it, Jace replied. Every step, she turned to him. You never treated me like something broken. I saw a mind worth listening to, he said. A heart worth protecting, she smiled. Then, let's protect others too. And that's exactly what they did. Years passed. Jera became the founder of the Free Mind Initiative, a home for gifted children, alien or human, who were feared by their own people. Children who could control machines with their thoughts. Children who had been hidden, silenced, or left behind. And at the heart of it all, Jera stood tall, not in a chair, not behind a wall, but in front of them, walking freely, guiding gently. She had become what her father never understood. Not a weapon, not a servant, but a leader. And Jace? He never left. He became the builder of the place, the one who made sure every corridor had light, every room had warmth, and every child had hope. One night, years later, Jera stood outside the base, watching the stars again. A small girl with glowing fingers stood beside her. Is it true? The girl asked. You were like me? Jera knelt down and smiled. I was worse, she said. I couldn't even speak. The girl's eyes widened. What happened? Jera pointed to the sky. I met a human who didn't laugh, she said. He didn't look away. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. The girl looked up. Will someone see that in me too? Jera took her hand gently. They already do, and above them, the stars shine just a little brighter, as if the galaxy was no longer watching in silence, but listening, finally, to the voice of a daughter who rose.